Yeah, well, it hasn't been easy. I'll be truthful to you that really every day the thing that keeps me together is holding on to some self-compassion, um, and and also really holding on to empathy for each member of the family and the community and the world as a whole. That the world is not the same right now, and so as much as we like to control and power through with our old lives, there's just things that we can't control, and so we have to take it day by day with the new routines of social distancing, wearing a mask, you know, practicing safe practices with, washing hands and ensuring that all of those things are constantly placed as a ritual in our daily lives. So that's how I've been coping, but it hasn't been easy. I have to say that. And also reaching out to people like this virtually has been a really great way to still feel connected to the world. Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully we do have this measure of being able to stay connected with the
Yeah.
world and with one another. What has been the biggest challenge for you as you've had to now shift your practice and your life really to everything happening squarely at home?
Yeah, I think I have four young children ranging in ages from 3 to 12. So now this is the first week where there's online homeschooling. So all the teachers are on board. They have homework, there's a curriculum, and just trying to make sure that everybody has a device. And they have to use my laptop too, which I need to use for work. So, it's a new schedule. So if I do see patients virtually, it's going to have to be the evening for me because during the daytime, it's the kids homeschooling and then keeping up with housework and making sure everybody's, happy and fed and then my husband's working. So it's just a completely different routine as far as that goes. So letting go of how much you can put out as, an 8 hour work day or a 4 hour work shift doesn't exist. It's got to be little, almost like sound bites, if you will, of work dispersed throughout the day. And because we're going through a traumatic experience, very emotional experience, there are some days where I can't get any work done, no housework done, nothing. I need to quiet my mind. And again, embracing the self-compassion because this is all new territory, and we're all going through it. So the way we look or the way we appear to be by other people, it's just not the same.
And I love the fact that you mentioned self-compassion because I think that's a big piece too.
Yeah.
For many of us, we're getting up and we're trying to not only stay on top of the news that's happening,
Right.
stay on top of this new and hopefully temporary normal that we've been having.
Yeah. Yeah.
So forgiving ourselves in the process of not being able to get some of the stuff done, would you
Right.
say that's a part of it as well?
Yeah, and if you're a person who's a highly functional person, a high performer, which I would say most artists are, and we have our cycles of productivity and looking within and incubation, this is a forced incubation period. So some of the ways we try to mitigate anxiety is to be productive, which you can see on social media with the flood of offerings and lives and everything like that, which can be overwhelming. But I think this is a really good opportunity to just really step back and really look at the basics of sleep, nutrition, and movement.
Mm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So then
Mhm.
let's come back then to how we do all of that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because when you are someone that's trying to balance all of these different things from, whether you are a parent or not, to
Right.
trying to busy yourself and balance that dance schedule, life schedule, etc. What is
Yeah.
your suggestion as to how we can maintain some sort of a schedule within the midst of the chaos, so to speak?
Right. I would say that at the very least, protect your sleep. Protect your sleep because if you don't get enough sleep, then it's going to set up your days, not just the day, your days, your week, your months. And it's very important right now to be able to protect your brain. Your sleep, if you don't get enough sleep, then you're not getting enough hormones like melatonin, dopamine, serotonin. And these are all of the hormones that can help mitigate stress and anxiety. And if you're in a constant fight or flight, you're running, burning both ends of the candle, then your adrenaline can only take you so far, and then your digestion goes down, and then your mental clarity goes down, and then your mood is changed. And then when you're completely overwhelmed, you're unable to function, and you're unable to help yourself or the community or people within your home. And then forget about exercising and doing all these other things, because things can only project from your body, and just protect your sleep. So try not to sleep while surfing the phone, because the blue light affects the hormones. Try not to sleep with the news CP24 running, making you panic, so that you don't go to sleep panicked and stressed. I know it's challenging. I mean, if you need sound to keep you feel like you're not alone in the house, or to kind of calm your thoughts, then maybe pick an app, like a calming app, a meditation. There's some apps that will tell you stories, and then you can fall asleep that way, rather than, flooding your brain with all these stressful things, that keeps you up at night.
Right, because it can become so overwhelming,
Yeah.
extremely overwhelming. I
Yeah.
found that one of the ways that I have organized my days is I literally started to write out what is happening through different time slots throughout the day. So I know that I have my time of reading, my time for work, my time to meditate, and it's enabled me, I think, to have some sense of calm, but also some sort of organization.
Yeah.
Because I think for many of us, there are things that we are shifting and doing, from either overeating to undereating, sleeping more or sleeping less. So can you give us some other practical examples of how we can stay organized during the day to ensure that we are still maintaining some balance?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is called time blocking, which is a really great way to stay productive. But when you time block, again, with self-compassion, for those of you like myself who have a strong emotional attachment to productivity and self-identity, time block just to give yourself a sense of control, because we can control our schedule if depending on your home environment, but it's got to be loose. Okay, so don't be so rigid, hour to hour, minute to minute. Allow for some opportunities of energy shifts. Okay, and then maybe it means you tweak where you meditate when your brain is bombarded, you need clarity. Okay, so you're gonna have to play around with it. But yeah, totally. Just have a schedule, but keep it loose is what I'm saying. Don't be so rigid with a hammer if you don't get these things done. Maybe pick one item that you really want to get done, and then the rest is all bonus.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I've had to forgive myself quite a bit during this process, because there have been times when I've just not been able to meet everything with on that list.
Yeah.
And you mentioned time blocking, which is absolutely fantastic. Elizabeth Carrera is a wonderful Toronto-based speaker who recently did a segment on time blocking, which I attended, and I found it just so valuable in allowing me and reminding me of the importance of kind of organizing my day.
Right.
Now, because time blocking is important, with also allowing self-compassion to happen within the midst of that,
Yes.
what about those busy parents, that are still finding it challenging to be able to match the time blocking, create spaces where they can also take space from their kids at times when they need it, and
Right.
also get their work done? What do you have to say to parents during this season?
I don't think parents can time block, if I could tell you the truth. I mean, again, the time blocking it's you can't even get a block in. I mean, you can just get like a framework. How about that? Just get a romanticized framework of what you want to do. But in that way, I would say you can't multitask as a parent. You just can't. So the mornings from either 9 to 1 or 2 p.m. is homeschooling for me, in addition to feeding them and breaking up fights. I might glance at one or two emails, make a note to self, but that's it. Like, it's just one of those things. If it's a great day, everybody's getting along, everybody's focused, then I'll have my laptop. So I have a work set up in the kitchen where I'm just like tinkering, yes, but it's like, for me, it's not good because I am trying to multitask and it's just not good. So in that way, I have to say, no, from 9 to 2, it's the kids and their schooling, and I'm not touching things. I'm still working on that. But it's either that or I have to get up at 6 in the morning and try to see if I can get in some hours beforehand for my own self-care. But it works. Everybody's different. And some people have a big, like, it's almost like you dropped a plate of noodles and that's how their day works. And some people are really rigid with color coded schedules. It's very individual. So I guess, experiment with different things and realize that if you start to embody stress and anxiety because you're not just hammering out the things, I know I'm very unrealistic with my to-do list. I think I can get everything done in 2 hours. It's not the case, right?
Right.
So, again, self-compassion and just kind of tune into the body. When you look at that list, does it make you feel good? If you say to yourself, I have an abundance of time and energy, right? And maybe the list is what you will attack during the week. It doesn't have to be a daily list, but for the daily, if you put meditation and put some 3 meals down in there, make sure you hydrate, go out for a walk, I think that should be your daily list. Just keep it to the sleep, the movement, and the nutrition. That should be on your list. Everything else is bonus. Yes, if you have a job and everything, then you've got to figure that out. But you have to keep your tasks into micro tasks and build from there.
That's good, Dr. Blessyl. That's really good because it's about time blocking and mastering the time blocking with recognition that we don't need to put everything into one day.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's beginning to feel overwhelming for us because we're being bombarded with so much news of things that are constantly changing. So sometimes there is this need to feel like we've got to get everything done in one day.
Right. Yeah. There's a sense of urgency, but we are burning out because this is an emotional experience. And so there are times when we dissociate. It's called dissociation, when things get too much. So we start to numb ourselves either through overeating, over consuming social media, the news, just to kind of like not deal with life, to get into the bed and, pull the covers over. And these are all coping mechanisms in our body, but we have to recognize when we're there, because when we stay there, then we're unable to function. And you can get on this dissociation train really fast, which is why it's important for community to always reach out via text messages or calls or, FaceTime and say, hey, you good? You good? Are we good? How are you today? I haven't heard from you. You got to reach out. And especially for those who are highly functional, high performers who are, likely ashamed to admit that they're having a hard time because they're the strong ones, the caretakers, the artistic directors, the dance educators, all of those, and especially those who have a persona that they've established as having it together. I think those are the ones that you really got to reach out to. Yeah.
And speaking of reach out to, individuals have been able to do that with you during this season because you have been offering these wonderful online. Sometimes there are these short tidbits of relaxation and how we can breathe better. Talk to us about what you are, how you're supporting us through this, but also some of the things that people can find online via your website in order to practice self-care.
Right. So the content that I've been creating in the past few weeks has really been focused less on the technical aspects of dance health and more so on the basics of thriving within your nervous system. I talk a lot about the vagus nerve, which is the antidote to stress. It's the calming nerve. And the gateway to activating the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve, is through breath and immobilizing the diaphragm. And dancers do this when they move, when they connect to music. And some of us, I know myself, I haven't been able to dance because I'm in a dissociative state that I can't move. For the last 3 weeks, I've just been taking care of my family and creating content in that way, but it's a very sedentary life. I cannot get to the point where I'm connected as I was pre-pandemic.
Right.
And so one of the things that are really basic that you'll find online through my content is using the visualization of a lotus flower to connect with the body to unlock the tension areas like the throat, the front of the belly button, the diaphragm. And as you inhale, you allow that lotus flower to open, let the petals release. And on the exhale, you let the petals relax. And I find to my most hypervigilant patients and, where they lock the tension, it's a really great visual for you to kind of incorporate it into your meditation. And then from there, you can layer in the moving. It gets you out of the dissociative state. And I think that's so important that not a lot of people are talking about it. And that's how it relates to me as a chiropractor, because really it's all about optimizing movement. And whether it's physical movement or mental movement, from us, our spirit, we want to create a movement. We want to mobilize into the community. And how do we do that when we're social distancing?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the key right there. How do we do that when social distancing?
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that continues to come to us and here at Turnout Radio is, well, I want to be able to practice self-care. I know I need to practice self-care, but I don't have the resources because so many different things are closed. I don't have access to that.
Right.
So you had this great resource that you had provided on your social media.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it on Instagram, and your handle is available on screen for our viewers right now. But you had utilized a ball, which also helped with releasing tension. Can you share with us about that? And also, if you can share how we can perhaps even just make one at home if we don't have the resource now to go out and purchase one.
That's right. So there's a few videos on my website, my YouTube, and my Instagram, where I'm using a ball to release certain muscles, whether it be the jaw, my hand, you can lie on your back. So there's a whole series there. But you don't have to necessarily have a professional massage ball. You can use a dryer ball. You can use one of the balls of your children, a rubber ball, or if you have a pet. Okay. And, this one's roughly, I don't know, like 8 centimeters diameter, but you can vary them up. I mean, if you have those obnoxious bouncy balls that you can get from the dollar store in the loot bag section, those are really good for the bottom of the foot or the hand. And so it's a way of tuning in with, if you pair that with the guided breath with the lotus flower and then self-release with the ball, it's a great way for you to go back into your body and realign yourself without even booking a massage or seeing your chiropractor. And I think that is a good self-care practice anyway. And most dancers, the older they get, you'll never come across a dancer that doesn't have some kind of tool in their dance bag, so if you forgot about it, dancers, go get your dance bag and start rolling out on the floor again, because that's key, right? And then it makes you feel like you're back in the studio and you're kind of going through these motions. And the young dancers haven't used that as a ritual yet, but it's time.
So it's almost like creating, trying to keep the normalcy for yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though we don't have access to that dance studio, we can create the dance studio within our own space.
Right. Yeah. And changing the space so that you have enough space. There's a lot of disaster, Biscuit Ballerina, her Instagram showing a lot of people, bumping into furniture during these, live dance classes, create the space so it's safe, you can move around, you can spread out. And dancers, in order for us to breathe, we have to move. We're all kinesthetic. So, being static and meditating and breath is advanced for us. We need to move through the movement. So play some music, tap into the breath, do a dynamic visual with the lotus flower, use the ball if you're lying on the floor, do some floor work, so you can get creative. There's no rules. There are no rules.
Now then, what do you have to say then for, and actually before we continue, if you can remind our audience of your website.
Drblesyl.com is my website. Yep. And I'll have some free resources there.
Now, and free resources are fantastic. For individuals who are engaging in the overeating now, because that's a huge thing, the overeating. What do we do? So many individuals are saying, I'm so bored, I don't know what else to do. So finding time for TV and food are what I'm doing now. What do you say?
Well, there's no judgment because it's a coping mechanism. This is a very difficult time. This is not the time to be fasting. This is not the time. So, I mean, if you already have that kind of habit, then you can shift gears. But for those of us who have never had that opportunity to even know where to begin, the first thing you can do is, again, wrap that in self-compassion. Realize that the reason why we do this is because it's a measure of coping. And then, dive deeper. It's like, what am I trying to cope from? Am I trying to feel more comfortable? I'm uncomfortable right now, right? And then how does it make me feel after I eat XYZ for so long? And see if maybe drinking more water can help to mitigate that, see if you can eat differently during your meals so that you'll feel full, so that, grabbing those snacks. And then also see, when you go for grocery shopping, you are in control of what you are purchasing. So if things are not in the house, then you can't reach for it. So you can also look up some healthier alternatives. For some people, it's the crunch. So, replace a crunchy chip with a celery. I don't know, but, it's all tactile. And again, it's a coping mechanism. So realize that things are not going to be perfect for now. It's going to, this isn't the time for like washboard abs. Some people are really great with that, but I don't know.
Well, that's so true, and we've made sure and placed your website at the bottom of the screen for our viewers as well, so that they know where to access that, as well as other COVID-19 resources. The overeating issue has come up so often.
Yes,
individuals are trying to really get a hold of how to maintain that, because now they are near their fridges 24/7.
right.
One of the things that I started doing that I never thought that I would really go back to is journaling, which I found has helped me significantly in terms of planning out and organizing my day. Is that something that you have found helpful? And secondly, for those who are not fans of journaling, in what other ways can we organize our thoughts?
So journaling is great because then you can tune into what are the thoughts that are entering your head, and know that thoughts are just visitors. They come and go. They're not permanently there. There's emotions. So we feel like, oh, this is the end of the world. And, they come and go. One of the tools, I have a friend, Jason Sulit, who is a mindfulness coach. And she says, think of them as visitors. So you say, oh, hello, anxiety. Goodbye.
That's good.
Here's the door.
I like that.
Yeah. You can also do a visual of like putting that thought in a bubble and then sending it off away from your head. So again, for dancers, for those who need to move, then you take the bubble, you can do some somatic work with that and then push it away. And then for some people, like for me, like I have to move and then I'll take the paper and pen, and then it's almost like this vomit of ideas from paper to pen. But when you're coming from a dissociated state, sometimes a blank paper with a pen can be overwhelming because you feel like, I don't know what to write. So you just kind of have to mobilize through your body, breath, or think of different visuals. You know, you can get really creative. You know, if you tap into your inner child, that's one way to kind of get out of this adult hypervigilant mess, you know.
The inner child.
Inner
I
child.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, before we do let you go, Dr. Blessyl, if you can give us just a few more tips or leave us just really with something that we can consider in this time for many of us when we are experiencing higher levels of stress and anxiety, tension, frustration,
Mhm.
something that you can leave us with that perhaps we can start doing on a daily basis and to bring us back to, again, that place of being well balanced and healthy.
Mhm. So what I would say is that we are navigating a time that is completely new, that all the world leaders are also taking it day by day. And as citizens, we have to take it day by day. So let us embrace this incubation period.
Mhm.
Let us detach our emotional attachment to what was before. And let us now create as artists. This is our new residency inside our home of how we're going to create the life when we are finished with this pandemic, and just take it day by day. Tune into the body because it's with the body that only we can manifest. Even the smallest thing is important. So protect your body with your sleep, your nutrition, and with your movement. Tune in with self-compassion and no, non-judgment, and just navigate in the most creative way and your own way on how you want to do this. Don't get distracted by what other people say. It's your time to reclaim what is authentically you.
Beautifully said. Dr. Blessyl, you continue to be such a valuable resource to the dance community. Thank you so much for not only your time, but for what you continue to give and contribute to us. It's been such a pleasure
Yeah,
speaking with
thank
you.
you, Nicole, and Turnout Radio. Thank you so much.